Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is always such a great pleasure for me to introduce our next speaker. The story begins with her birth across the ocean in Calcutta, India. So she grew up, along with members of her family, with a very different slant on nutrition and on health and on medicine than many of us in this room tonight. She was educated, however, in the United States, and she first earned an engineering degree at Cornell University and then crossed the country to the West Coast, where she completed her PhD program in biochemistry at the very highly respected program at Stanford University. Not surprisingly, she became a research scientist, and she was striving to unlock the secrets of degenerative diseases. Had she stayed in pure science, she'd almost certainly have gone on to some very notable discoveries and perhaps to international fame. But she made another discovery along the way. A deceptively simple discovery that changed her entire outlook. And it also brings her here tonight with a message that has the potential to change all of our lives for the better. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mitra Ray.
In case you're wondering why you're here, let me clarify why you're here. And Dick started off with the word prevention. And I really want to distinguish what prevention is. Your life and the life of most people in North America and in most of the industrialized nations, unless we actively take on prevention, has a default mode. What is default mode? Like when you turn on your computer, you've got your default screensaver, you've got your default settings on your Word program, how much the margin should be for a text file, et cetera, et cetera. So your life has a default mode. My life has a default mode. Unless I take on prevention, actively make choices every day around preventing what is sort of inevitable in today's environment. So today we're looking at a change of focus. Take care of the part of you that is working. That is my approach to prevention. Recently, I took on this whole approach to my pregnancy because I didn't want my child in a drug-free America where we give them amoxicillin when they're really young and then they graduate to Ritalin, and then they start taking appetite suppressants and no-dos when they go to college, and then they come out, they're depressed with their jobs, and they take Prozac, and then they got ulcers, and they got to take Zantac, and by the time they're 65, they're popping everything. But all joking aside, when you see headlines like this, it makes you wonder what is really going on. Why are preschoolers taking Prozac and Ritalin? On top of that, you really have to be aware of the toxic food environment that we're raising our children in today. There are now 5,000 schools in the USA that have fast food franchises. They're putting in soft drink machines and they're cutting back on physical activity. Well, the toxic food environment can actually start in the womb, I realized when I did some research. The factors that really affect a person's health start at the very beginning. Now, why is this? People will tell you don't smoke and don't drink alcohol when you're pregnant. Well, those things work basically by poisoning the baby. But we're talking about much more subtle factors like nutrition. And they play an incredible role, now we're realizing. And it's the same thing all through life. Your environment, how you lead your life, what you put into your mouth is going to affect your health. But it's incredible that we really think of things like heart disease as genetic, as a result of bad genes. Studying genes that cause these diseases was what I was doing with my life. And then I realized that's not the answer. The answer lies in programming those genes. And it starts at the very beginning. You have all these great genes when you're first conceived. And then it's kind of like having an incredible CD collection. Unless you play those CDs, your house is not going to be full of music. Similarly, you need nutrition right from the start. You need a good, non-toxic environment starting in the womb and going on for the rest of your life to give those genes a chance to express themselves. Other research around pregnancy has shown that nutrition also has an effect on hypertension, diabetes, cholesterol, stress-related problems, and obesity. When you come out of the womb, you still can affect all these things with nutrition. To go a little bit more into what good nutrition looks like, I like to break it up into two categories, micronutrients and macronutrients. So I'm going to talk about micronutrients first. Micronutrients don't give you calories, but they certainly support you in all kinds of other ways to protect you against ill health. And macronutrients actually give you calories. Now, it is clear, it is more than clear that micronutrients from fruits and vegetables can reduce the risk of cancer, cardiovascular disease, stroke, etc., etc. This is why the Cancer Society is telling you that you have got to get your fruits and vegetables into your system. We know there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that micronutrients prevent cancer, heart disease, stroke, age-related macular degeneration, and cataracts. And there's a growing number of research showing that it prevents depression, age-related immune weakness, Alzheimer's disease, and infertility. So this is why it's not a surprise that leading opinions such as the American Cancer Society and the Heart Association are all saying that if I want to protect my body, I got to eat more fruits and vegetables. And they are not saying to eat vitamin supplements. The story is much, much bigger than vitamin C, beta carotene, and all the other ones that you see in a multivitamin. But when I was pregnant, everybody told me I should take prenatal. So I started to look into this, and it's interesting. There was a great article talking about evaluating these prenatal supplements. The first thing you should look for in a prenatal supplement is bioavailability. The best formulated product in the world is of little benefit if it cannot be made available for absorption. So this was really interesting that 6 of the products that they tested failed to meet the USP standards for folic acid, and folic acid is the big reason all these people are telling me to take these prenatals. Secondly, they're telling me to look at the processing technique. If heat is used, it can't be useful to the body because heat destroys most of the nutrition that you get from fruits and vegetables. Thirdly, chemical solvents. All these supplements use chemical solvents, and chemical solvents cause cancer. They're mutagenic. Fourthly, they use something called shellac, and shellac just kind of helps you get it down. It's a nice, shiny appearance, but it also renders the pill slightly slippery, which often results in the phenomenon known as bedpan pills. Products that move straight through the gastrointestinal tract intact. So anything that's too shiny doesn't work, except this coat. This coat works. A little too much lycopene, right? The next thing is penny wise, pound foolish. Basically, you get what you pay for. And then the last thing is an open door policy. The manufacturer should have an open door policy. So I was really relieved after reading this article that Juice Plus, which you've heard about already, is bioavailable. There's no toxic solvents, there's no shellac, there's quality control made by an FDA-approved facility, and NAI, Natural Alternatives, has an open door policy. Plus, Juice Plus is actually setting new standards, in my opinion, for the whole industry. For instance, it was first compared to real juice made from the same 17 fruits and vegetables that go into making the product. Now imagine going to a juice bar and getting a 16-ounce glass of juice with 7 different fruits and another 16-ounce glass of juice with 10 different vegetables and grains. Now if you did that every day, you would definitely get your micronutrients. And when you look at the micronutrients in this independent lab analysis compared to Juice Plus, you get same or better in terms of things like vitamin C, folic acid, and all the ones that you hear about. Meanwhile, you don't get the sugar. So Juice Plus is the micronutrients without the problem with the sugar. So I knew that it's all in the capsules as a result of this study. The second study showed that it actually gets into my body. You see the two lines that are going up, the blue and green lines, is the elevation of the antioxidants in the actual blood. Not only is it in the product, remember, it doesn't matter what's in it if it's not bioavailable. It is indeed bioavailable. And thirdly, it is warding off disease in my body because the red line is a drop in lipid peroxides. Now, what are lipid peroxides? Lipids are fats. Lipid peroxides are rancid fats. So when the free radicals damage the fat that's in your body, you get lipid peroxides floating around in your blood serum. So you want to have all these antioxidants to protect all this fat from going bad in your body. And indeed, this is what happens. The drop in the lipid peroxides was so low. Lipid peroxide is a free radical in the body. It was so low, it was hardly detectable in some of the subjects. Next thing they showed is that if it gets into your blood, it should protect your immune system. Now, your immune system, as you get older, a couple of things happen to your immune system. You kind of become hyperactive in the wrong areas and not so active in the right areas. For instance, you should be warding off things like cancer, and if a virus enters your body, you should be able to get over that cold in a reasonable amount of time. Well, what they've shown with this Juice Plus is this kind of, the hyperactivity subsides and the increase in T cell activity, which is what goes after invasions like viruses or cancer cells, increases. So it was really good to know that I'm taking something that protects my immune system. And nextly, it protects the actual genetic material that determines whether I get to make a new set of healthy cells or not. Your body's own ability to repair its genetic material increases like over 60% when you take this product. Now that to me is prevention. It's like bottom line prevention. If you can keep that DNA from being damaged, you're protecting your genetic material that is going to make a healthier body. So Juice Plus really does cover the micronutrient aspect of the whole health story. Now let's talk about macronutrients. Fats, carbohydrates, and proteins are your macronutrients. Carbohydrate is a big word for sugar. There's all kinds of carbohydrates. You've got your simple sugars, you've got your complex sugars. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about sugars, but I also want to explain a little bit about fats. Okay, now there are some good fats, your essential fatty acids. What are the bad guys? The bad guys are the hydrogenated fats. And the really bad fats are the trans fats that are found in products like margarine, because it's just a totally manufactured fat and your body has no way of dealing with it. Okay, now I'm going to talk about carbohydrates. When you choose carbohydrates, it is important to understand something called the glycemic index. The glycemic index is what determines the rate at which the sugar enters your blood serum. What you want is a steady level of sugar in your body. And the factors that alter that are what kind of sugar it is. For instance, there's some sugars like galactose and glucose and fructose. Glucose is the one that readily enters your body. Galactose is found in milk products and fructose is found in fruits. And fructose and galactose enter much more slowly than glucose because first they have to be converted into glucose. Secondly, the amount of soluble fiber also will determine the rate at which the sugar enters the blood. This is really important. So this stuff, when combined with the other forms of sugar, slows down the entry of the other sugars into the body. How do you know when you have this stuff? Crunch. If things crunch, and I'm not talking nachos, I'm talking broccoli. Raw. Okay, the stuff you don't want to eat, and if it's crunchy, that stuff has got this stuff in it, and this stuff will slow down the other stuff. Get it? Okay, so why am I lecturing you on this stuff? Well, the reason you want to understand macronutrients is so you can preserve your lean body mass. We are so hooked on our body weight, and we don't really understand body composition. This is the big thing people are missing when they go on diets. They try to starve, thinking that that's going to affect their body. Starvation has nothing to do with changing body composition. You never want to think about losing body weight, whether you're an Olympic athlete or whether you're a couch potato. If you want to take on prevention in your life, you want to take on increasing your lean body mass. So we have some sweet control with the Juice Plus Complete and the Juice Plus Thins product. It really helps provide a source of good carbohydrates because it's a very low glycemic index product. The glycemic index is determined again by the amount of total carbohydrates versus the amount of soluble fiber. Now, Juice Plus Complete actually fares better than broccoli, which is one of the best glycemic index vegetables there is. You gotta eat your broccoli, not just a source of micronutrients, all those phytochemicals, but also as a source of the good sugars that are going to come into your blood at a steady pace. Juice Plus Complete is a great way to start the day because you're looking at 16 grams of carbohydrate compared to 4 grams of fiber. So it is lower on the glycemic index than the lowest foods out there. Now the Juice Plus Thins have an even better glycemic index because there's like 4 grams of sugar compared to 2 grams of fiber, so it's, you know, off the scale in terms of glycemic index. So it's, in terms of carbohydrates, you don't even have to worry about Juice Plus Thins affecting your sugar level. Well, actually, that's not true. It will affect it in a good way. Here's what it does. There's a fruit in the Juice Plus Thins, which is a fiber wafer, called Garcinia cambogia. And what that does, it's got an active ingredient called HCA, which inhibits fatty acid synthesis. Remember, all excess calories get turned into fat, okay, even the sugars that you're eating. Well, what the Juice Plus Thins does is it actually affects the enzyme that is the first enzyme in the whole process of fatty acid synthesis. It's also got lots of fiber, more fiber than you could possibly get in a normal diet. And all of this sums up to helping build your lean body mass, which is what we want to do. They've done studies to show that people, when put against a placebo group, taking all 3 of the products, the blue is the Juice Plus group, and you can see that the blue group loses weight, but it's not very significant compared to the placebo group. But what happens is you see a significant decrease in their body fat and an increase in their lean body mass. But finally, I just want to show you that I've been very successful in the arena of prevention and creating a very healthy So,
are you done?
The only people that are allowed to be fat are babies under 2 years. Because that's a good thing, because they go through a lot of, you know, they burn a lot of fat as a source of fuel as they're trying to grow. And she's one of the healthiest babies you'll see, and I really feel incredibly good that I actually don't know how people get pregnant without these products, because, you know, I just had a very smooth pregnancy and a very healthy outcome. Who likes carrot sticks? Yeah. I know that it takes a commitment to your health and the health of other people to take on prevention, but what do you get out of it? You get your life, you know, you get to be healthy, you get to, you know, not worry about some kind of disease. And really, prevention means worrying about the part of you that's healthy. Thank you so much for being here, for taking on prevention in your life and the life of other people. You just fill my heart. Thank you.